Effects of population on ecosystem. Every ecosystem on Earth is affected by population. Whether it be the effects of climate change, pollution effects, or effects of human use, all ecosystems are being changed by human populations in some way. For example, an increase in population can positively affect an ecosystem, such as more food for people and animals, which could lead to increased biodiversity. But with that comes negative effects like overfishing and deforestation, which lead to decreased biodiversity and habitat loss. There are many other effects of population on ecosystems. Still, one thing is certain, every ecosystem has been impacted by humans at this point, so we need to make sure our decisions will not impact them negatively in the future. Effects of population on forest ecosystems. The Earth is growing and will continue to grow in population. To accommodate this, food production needs to increase as well. Agriculture does not take up much land, so our ecosystems are being threatened by the increasing human populations that have been moving into forests worldwide for farming purposes. The forest ecosystem provides many benefits like clean water, animal habitats, carbon dioxide absorption, which slows climate change, among others, which make it a good idea for humans who live near them or rely on them. Indigenous should be preserved because their importance cannot be understated in relation with other life forms from plants down through animals including us. The population of people in the world is increasing exponentially. This has significant implications for how our forests are managed and what kind of resources they will provide us with. It also affects other life forms, such as wild animals who depend on trees or plants to survive. Effects of population on ecosystem are hard to understand, but we all need to work together to control these causes. Effects of population on freshwater ecosystems. The freshwater ecosystems are in trouble. The human population is growing exponentially, and this has harmed the freshwater resources. The freshwater ecosystem's natural habitat seems to be shrinking by the day as more people flock from every corner of Earth, searching for their version of lifelong happiness. This migration creates an imbalance in nature that can't go unaddressed any longer if we want to see our planet thrive alongside other living organisms like us. With an increased demand for water due to overcrowded urbanization, people are using more fresh water than ever before, which has led to an increase in pollution levels such as nitrogen deposition that decrease biodiversity and water quality downstream, while also causing damage to aquatic life like coral reefs at the ocean's edge by increasing acidification rates. Pollution released into waterways can be toxic or harmful during rainfall events where metals wash off highways onto lawns from cars, but it becomes even worse when there is built-up sediment containing radioactive substances found near nuclear plants because they seep into groundwater, contaminating drinking supplies with cancer. Effects of population on desert ecosystem. The human population is the largest factor in desert ecosystems. The research has shown that more people on Earth directly affect deserts, which means there are fewer animals and plants to shelter from windstorms or provide food for other organisms. Of course, there will be many changes with climate change as well. Still, humans themselves can also contribute by creating homes near water sources so they don't have to use up valuable energy transporting what would otherwise fall out of their hands through dunes because it's not worth digging any deeper than 4 feet under these conditions. The deserts are quickly becoming an unsustainable place to live. The population is growing rapidly, many people have nowhere else to go, and they end up overcrowding the desert area. This results in problems for both plants and animals alike because there aren't enough water or food resources available anymore due to higher demand for these things by more humans living in this fragile ecosystem. Effects of population on ecosystem are important to know so that we can control them. Effects of population on the non-living organism. Mountains are not indestructible. Experts agree that the effects of population on mountains are a problem, but there's no easy solution to fix it. One possible option may be making space for nature by building up and out into suburbs so we can live in more sustainable communities while also preserving the land around us with natural habitat areas or parks where wildlife can thrive without fear of human disturbance like hunting or poaching. This would allow both humans and animals alike to survive better than before. Research has found a strong correlation between the number of people in an area and how fast rocks erode. This means as populations grow, erosion rates will also increase, which can lead to landslides or other natural disasters. For example, New Zealand has seen its population growing by 2% per year for over 20 years now. Combined with their low-lying coastal areas, this rate creates problems such as flooding from storm surges because they are more likely to be impacted by tsunamis than higher inland locations. Hence, We must find ways to reduce our impact on Earth and make sure communities around us have access to resources like water during these times when supplies might get disrupted. In order to save our planet for future generations, we need to reduce the effects of population on ecosystem. Effects of population on aquatic life. The effects of population on aquatic life are a hot topic these days. The more people, the greater the water demand. Some projections say that by 2050 there will be twice as many humans and 4 times less fresh water available per person than in 2000. It's a known fact that the population will always increase as long as there is an available food source, but what may not be so obvious are all of the consequences this can cause for other aspects of our ecosystem like water quality or loss in biodiversity. Pollution from human activities such as waste disposal often finds its way into streams, which have severe implications for fish health because they rely heavily on them to survive. As we continue to grow economically, more people take jobs near waterways without realizing how harmful their industrial operations might be. Introducing toxic chemicals used in manufacturing into rivers reduces oxygen levels and produces dangerous toxins accumulating up through different trophic levels. Effects of population on birds' life. There are many reasons why a bird's life is affected by an increasing population. The more people there are, the more pollution and toxins they produce, which can harm their habitats or make them sick because of all the trash that ends up in natural areas due to human negligence. There will also be less space for birds if we're not careful with our land use practices, as well as development projects like mining sites or oil rigs where these avian live freely above ground but could become trapped below ground instead. In the wild, bird habitats are limited by their territory and food sources. The more people who live in an area, the less available space for birds to thrive due to habitat loss from development or urbanization. With fewer trees and other sheltering vegetation around human structures such as houses, parks, roadsides, etc., nesting sites become scarce, which affects the reproduction rates of local populations who rely on these areas for survival during winter months when they cannot fly south like migratory species do each year.